The first hours. It's 11:47 p.m. You're standing in your kitchen in a wrinkled office shirt, reheating leftover pasta. The microwave hums. Your phone glows. You're looking at a one-bedroom in the East Side, $1,340 a month, wondering if the commute is worth it. Normal. Completely normal. Then the microwave display reads 8888. Every light in the building dies at once. You don't move. You stand in the dark with the phone half raised and you listen. No hum from the fridge, no traffic from outside. Just a silence so complete it has a shape. The glow from your phone screen drops to the floor when you flinch, and it lands face up, throwing cold blue light at the ceiling. And that's when you see it. The pasta is in the air. Not falling, not floating. Suspended at chest height, about 30 centimeters above the bowl, rotating slowly in a corkscrew shape, roughly 60 centimeters wide. Each noodle holds its position like something pinned there by a hand you can't see.
The marinara sauce hangs in perfect dark red droplets around it. The bowl sits on the counter below, completely empty, as if the food simply decided to leave. You press your hands flat on the counter. Your knuckles go white. Then the pasta moves. Not fast, almost gentle. It lifts, rotates once more, and sticks to the ceiling directly above the bowl. A wet spiral. A dark stain spreading outward from the center. Physics just ran the play in reverse and didn't ask you. You pick up your phone. Your own face looks back at you from the lock screen. Not your photo. Not a reflection. Your face, but older. 30 years older. Hollow-eyed, with a scar along the left jaw you've never had. It stares at you for exactly 2 seconds. Then the screen shatters. Not downward, outward. The glass breaks into perfect geometric shapes, triangles, hexagons, and they don't fall. They hang in the blue light like a stained glass window, 3 centimeters from your hands. Each fragment edge is perfect, quivering. You look at the window. Outside, the city skyline is lit like normal. Cars still move. A sign still blinks. But above the buildings, sitting side by side in the black sky, are 2 moons. Full. Identical. Separated by maybe 4 degrees of arc. Not 1, 2. You stand there in the dark, hands on the counter, geometric glass hovering at your fingertips, pasta overhead, 2 moons in the window. No sound, no instructions. The world doesn't explain itself. You thought physics was a floor, something you stood on without thinking. Not anymore. Day 1. Morning comes. You slept 20 minutes on the kitchen floor. You open the front door at 6:14 a.m. and stop. The street is wrong. Your building's entrance used to face Clement Avenue. A straight run of parked cars and the dry cleaner on the left. Now the door opens onto a T intersection you recognize, but it belongs half a block east. The dry cleaner is gone. A concrete wall stands 12 meters away where the road should continue, raw and gray, no seams, no signage, as if it grew there overnight. Above the wall, the upper 3 floors of the Harmon building float without a base. No ground floor, no second floor. Just the top, hanging, windows intact, curtains visible behind the glass. Below it, nothing. Open air. The wall ends and the building begins somewhere above the laws you grew up with. Power lines droop between lampposts at angles that make no sense. 2 of them pass directly through a lamppost steel shaft, occupying the same space, like someone drew 2 versions of the city and printed them on top of each other. You estimated 200 meters of street displacement, minimum, overnight. You step down onto the pavement. It feels solid. You don't trust that. A fire hydrant at the corner has a portable radio sitting on it, a yellow Eaton hand crank model. Someone's emergency kit. It's broadcasting. Two voices play from the same speaker at exactly the same time. One says, sheltering in place is mandatory. One says, evacuate immediately on foot. They don't alternate. They layer. The tones sit at roughly 440 Hz and 880 Hz. Two pitches, one machine. And your brain keeps trying to hear just one message and failing. You grab the radio. You turn it off. The voices keep going. You set it back down. 8 or 9 people stand in the intersection in pajamas and winter coats. Nobody is moving. They are pointing at a spot on the pavement near the far curb. A vertical shimmer, roughly 3 meters tall, oval square, like heat haze of summer asphalt, but upright and perfectly still. Your neighbor from 4B is there, Mrs. Okafor. 60-something, always wore a yellow housecoat, always said good morning. She's standing at the edge of the shimmer, talking to a man you don't know. You hear her say it's probably just... She steps forward 1 foot. She stops existing. Not falling, not screaming. Mid-sentence, mid-step, gone. No sound. The yellow housecoat doesn't drop. There is no yellow housecoat. There is the shimmer, unchanged, and a space where a person was. The man she was talking to stares at the empty air for 3 full seconds. Then he runs. You take 4 steps back. Your spine hits the building wall. You breathe. You look at what you're carrying. Your phone with its shattered screen, a half-charged battery pack at 61%, your keys, and the clothes you slept in. That's everything. You start making a list in your head. Water first. Anything sealed. Anything that doesn't flicker. You don't look at the shimmer again. You don't. 1 week. The storm front is visible from 6 blocks out. You see it before you understand it. A wall of pale iridescent fog, maybe 40 meters tall, its leading edge sharp as a knife cut, left side of the street normal, right side ghost white and wrong. It moves at roughly 15 kilometers per hour. You've clocked it twice now. You know it doesn't slow down. Downtown looks like a scrapyard someone lit on fire and then forgot. Cars sit at skewed angles across every intersection, 2 of them half translucent, their doors and hoods the color of frosted glass. You can see the engine block of a Toyota through the hood panel like it's behind smoked ice. The bus on 5th is worse. It juts nose first out of the parking garage wall at 45 degrees, headlights still burning, the concrete clenching it like a fist. Nobody drove it there. Nobody could have. You're wearing 3 layers now. A rain shell over a fleece over a thermal. Ski goggles from a looted sporting goods store on your face. Everybody you've seen in the last 2 days looks the same. Practical, layered, dirty. There are 4 of you moving together. Where 4 of you? The storm catches the park at 9:11 a.m. You watch it happen. The trees go first. A full 8-meter oak shimmers, turns silver, goes leafless in under 3 seconds. The grass below it fades to gray dust. 30 seconds later, the whole park is silver trees with metallic branches that catch the light like antenna towers and throw it back wrong. It was green yesterday. Every leaf gone. The color stripped out like the storm reached in and unplugged something. The man in the red jacket, you never asked his name. You know his face. He's standing too close to the park fence when the edge passes. He doesn't scream. He phases. You see him turn briefly transparent, bones visible through skin like an X-ray. And then the storm snaps back and he reappears. Wrong. His left arm is inside his own chest. He looks down at it. He makes one sound. The woman with the gray braid grabs your arm and says we have to go back for him. You have 11 seconds, maybe 12. You know what 15 kilometers per hour feels like when you're running with a loaded pack. You know the gap. You do the math in 4 seconds flat, and you don't like the answer. You pull her arm forward. She fights you for 2 steps. Then she stops fighting. You both run.
You don't look back. You cover 200 meters before the fog swallows that block whole. You stop at a barricade made from cafe tables and parking meters, someone's improvised wall. You breathe. The woman with the gray braid sits down on the curb and puts her hands over her face. You stand there. You let her. The silver trees catch the light behind you. You don't feel like a monster. That's the part that stays with you all day. You feel like someone doing arithmetic. You think that might be worse. 1 month. You smell the anchor line before you see it. Coffee. Real coffee. Burned and thin, but real. It hits you from maybe 80 meters out, and your legs nearly stop. You haven't smelled anything cooked in 6 days. Then you see the chevrons. Yellow spray paint, sharp angles, every 50 meters along the outer wall. A corrugated metal warehouse the length of a city block. Its surface plastered in overlapping stencils and hand-drawn zone maps. The maps show streets with X's through them. Zones marked soft in red. One strip marked hard in black. The chevrons point inward, always inward, like arrows telling the world where safe is. You follow them on instinct. The queue ahead of you is about 20 people long. Everyone is layered wrong. Winter coats over summer clothes, bicycle helmets, boots wrapped in duct tape and electrical wire. One man carries a bolt-action rifle over one shoulder and a child's backpack over the other. Nobody talks much. Everybody's eyes move the same way, scanning, always scanning. Beyond the rope and flag perimeter at the zone's edge, the skyline does something you've stopped being surprised by. Buildings pulse. The glass face of an office tower goes solid, then translucent, then solid again. The whole 20-story structure breathing like a lung. Past the line, the world shimmers like pavement heat in August. Inside the line, the air is flat and still. You can feel the difference on your skin. You reach the hatch. The guard is a woman, maybe 50, with a scar across her chin and a yellow armband. She doesn't greet you. She has a laminated list. "What do you have?" she says. You already know the answer. You worked it out 2 days ago, walking here, running the math the same way you ran it at the park. You know what you have. You know what they want. You pull the phone from your jacket pocket. The screen is cracked from the corner. Battery at 4%. No signal, no data, nothing it was ever made for. But there are 214 photos on it. Your sister's birthday, March 8th. The apartment you were looking at when the lights went out. A dog you used to watch for a neighbor. None of that works anymore. None of that is real anymore. You push it through the hatch. She checks it, turns it over, looks at you. 3 days meal ticket, she says. Full entry. Done, you say. She stamps your wrist with a yellow chevron in ink. You step through the roll-up door. The barter board on the inside wall is a full meter wide, a sheet of plywood nailed at eye level, covered edge to edge in paper slips. You count 43 post-it trades before you stop counting. 2 AA batteries for antibiotics, any type. Wool socks, 1 pair, for 1 hour generator access. Hand crank radio, asking 4 days food. A council of 12 runs this place. Their names are on a chalkboard above the board. You don't know any of them yet. You will. You find a corner with a clear sightline to both exits. You sit down. You unpack your bag. 1 knife, 1 lighter, 60 meters of paracord, a water filter rated for 1,500 liters. Practical things. Nothing from before. The woman with the gray braid didn't make it to the anchor line. She turned back 3 days ago. You don't know why. You let her go without argument. You eat the first meal they give you. Canned lentils, 400 grams, warm. You eat every gram. You don't think about the phone. You think about the barter board. You think about what 60 meters of paracord is worth to 12 people trying to hold the perimeter. You sleep 4 hours. You wake before anyone else. You're already planning. 6 months. The butcher paper covers the entire north wall of the warehouse, floor to ceiling. 9 sheets wide, taped and pinned and retaped where the edges curl.
You drew every line on it yourself. Black ink, ruled with a salvaged carpenter's square. 40 kilometers of corridor, mapped in a grid you built from scratch over 11 weeks. You're sitting 2 feet from it now, close enough to smell the ink. The LED strips above you run off a salvaged inverter and a bank of 6-car batteries charged by a rooftop solar panel the size of a dining table. The candles are backup. You always have backup now. 11 nodes are marked in yellow. Stable. Confirmed across at least 9 consecutive 4-hour pressure windows. Each node has a grid reference, an elevation number, and a margin of error you calculated yourself. 3 digits, no rounding. The pressure station is a salvaged Oregon Scientific Weather Unit, battery replaced twice, sitting on a shelf you bolted to the east wall at exactly 1.4 meters height to match the calibration notes in the instruction manual you found folded inside it. You log readings at 6 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 14 o'clock, 18 o'clock, 22 o'clock, and 2 o'clock. You don't miss a window. You haven't missed one in 9 weeks. 3 runners are at the long table below the map. Worn trail shoes, all of them. The kind with the soles worn smooth at the ball of the foot. The kind that means someone has walked further than shoes were built for. They are copying sections of the map onto smaller sheets. They don't talk much. They measure twice. Good. The runner from the Hallstatt enclave, 22 kilometers northeast, got here yesterday with a written request from their council. They want the full corridor data. You gave them nodes 3 through 7. You kept the pressure correlation formulas. Not out of cruelty, out of math. Information is the only currency that doesn't rot. You look at the map with your right eye, sharp, clear. You look at it with your left, gray-green, flat. The yellow node markers read as the same pale nothing as the white paper behind them. The shimmer field north of the old rail depot did that. 3 seconds of direct exposure 4 weeks ago. A miscalculation in wind direction, and the world on your left side went gray-green and never came back. You had a doctor here check it. She held the light up. She didn't say much. She wrote, "Permanent photoreceptor disruption, wavelength selective," on a piece of paper and handed it to you like a receipt. You keep the map colored anyway. For the runners. They still see in full. Outside the warehouse's single high window, the decoherence light is doing what it does most nights now. Pale green and violet, low to the ground, moving in slow, rhythmic pulses like something breathing under the city. Not aurora, heavier, ground-hugging. 6 months ago, that would have stopped you cold. Now you check its pulse interval against the 2200 pressure reading and write a number in the log. Tonight's number? 1013 millibars. Stable window. Good. The Hallstatt runner looks up from his copy sheet. "How long did this take you?" he asks. 11 weeks, you say. He nods, goes back to copying. You don't tell him about the 3 maps before this one, the ones you scrapped when the data didn't hold, when a node you'd marked stable opened up without warning and you lost a full day recalculating. You don't tell him about the night you sat in the dark with a dead pen and couldn't remember why any of it mattered. He doesn't need that. He needs the map. The ink notations on your forearms run from your wrists to your elbows. Shorthand pressure codes, node coordinates, the decoherence interval formulas you can't afford to lose if the paper burns. You wrote them small and precise, in 2mm block letters. Permanent marker over old skin, the kind of thing the person you were 6 months ago would have called unhinged. You call it redundancy. The map is already being copied in 4 other enclaves. A runner from the South Corridor told you last week that they're calling it the corridor chart, capital letters, like it's a document, like it has a name. You finish tonight's pressure log. You cup the pen. You look at the 11 yellow notes with your right eye and see 11 points of safety in a broken world. You look with your left and see 11 pale smears on grey-green nothing. Both things are true at once. You've stopped deciding which one matters more. 1 year. You're 40 meters outside the anchor line perimeter when it happens. You're crouched over the secondary pressure gauge, the backup unit, a Dwyer Magnehelic, bolted to a post at the zone's southeast edge, running the 6 o'clock reading. 10-11 millibars, slightly down from last night. You're writing the number. Your pen is moving. Then the sound stops. Not an explosion, not a crack. The sound just stops, all of it. The wind, the distant groan of settling concrete, the pigeons that nest in the corrugated roof of Building 7, all of it gone in a single instant, like a hand pressed flat over your ears. You look up. Where 14 buildings stood, there is now nothing. Not rubble, not fire, nothing. A flat, mirror-black plain, roughly 3 hectares, sits embedded in the city like a hole punched through the world's floor. Its edges are razor-sharp where they meet the cracked asphalt, slightly raised, clean as a cut. No debris at the margins, no dust in the air, no sound coming from it. The sky directly above the plain is white, not cloudy, not overcast, just featureless, as if whatever renders sky simply forgot that patch existed. You stand there with the Dwyer Magnehelic still in your hand. 800 people were inside that perimeter. The early shift water team, the map runners, the doctor who wrote permanent photoreceptor disruption on a slip of paper like a receipt and handed it to you without blinking. The 3 runners at the long table, their worn trail shoes, their careful copies of the corridor chart. 4 seconds. That's your best estimate later, when you can think again. 4 seconds from sound stop to silence. You walk to the edge. You stop 2 meters short because some part of your brain is still running. The obsidian surface is perfectly level. You'll measure it later with the transit level from the supply cache, and it will read flat to within 2 centimeters across the full 3 hectares, which is more precise than any poured concrete floor you've ever stood on. The surrounding blocks look the same as always. Broken windows, weeds pushing through pavement cracks, a toppled street sign bent at 45 degrees, and that normalcy makes the black plain more wrong, not less. The city forgot to forget everything else. You crouch. You extend 1 finger toward the surface. You don't touch it. You spend 4 hours at the perimeter. You walk all 600 meters of its edge. You call out, once, at the northern margin, because you have to. Nobody answers. The black surface doesn't shimmer. It doesn't reflect your face. It just absorbs light and returns nothing. 0 survivors found. Not because you couldn't search, because there is no surface to search. There is no beneath. There is only the plain. You sit on the curb at the southeast corner, same spot where the Dwyer gauge is still bolted to its post. Your 6 o'clock number still written in the log. And you look at the white, featureless sky above the erasure until your eyes ache. Then you stand up. You uncup your marker. On your left forearm, below the pressure codes, you write 2 numbers in 2mm block letters. 800, 4 seconds. You cup the marker. You pick up the log. You pick up the gauge. You start walking north. The corridor chart exists in 4 other enclaves. The pressure formulas are on your arms. The data didn't vanish with the buildings. That's not comfort. It's just true. You walk. The black plane shrinks behind you. You don't look back. 2 years. 30 people sit on salvaged stadium seats, red, blue, orange, bolted in crooked rows on the overpass deck, and you're standing in front of them, pointing at a road sign. Not a road sign anymore. You stripped the green paint last March, bolted a 90 by 60 centimeter laminate sheet to its face. 6 rows,
6 boxes. Black text, yellow borders. The shimmer protocol. You tap box 1 with your knuckle. Barometric drop rate. Threshold. 2 millibars in under 40 minutes. Not total pressure. Rate. That distinction costs lives when you get it wrong. You've watched people get it wrong. You don't let it happen in your cohort.
Below the overpass, 17 modified pickups and 9 cargo bikes wait on the cleared westbound lane. Each truck carries a Pelican 1510 case bolted behind the cab, pressure gear, laminate cards, spare compasses. Each rider's left shoulder wears a yellow chevron patch. Every person in this yard, seated or standing, is marked with that same shape. 80 kilometers of territory recognize it now. 11 factions carry the card. You tap box 2, compass drift, greater than 4 degrees from true north in under 10 minutes. You pull the Sunto A10 from your vest. You hold it flat. You make them watch the needle. This, you say, is 6 hours before decoherence, not 20 minutes. 6 hours. You let that number sit. A trainee in the third row, mismatched jacket, one boot duct-taped at the toe, raises her hand. What if drift is slow? You tell her slow drift is box 3's problem. Box 3. Shadow duplication. 1 object, 2 shadows, less than 15 degrees of arc between them. You hold up your hand. 1 shadow falls on the overpass deck. 1. You tell her, when you see 2, you're already in the 90-minute window. You move. You don't measure twice. Out on the horizon, past the cleared kill zone and the double row of salvaged jersey barriers, a pale green shimmer sits low in the sky. It flickers twice. Nobody in the yard flinches. That's how you know 2 years have passed. Your left eye is the color of old dishwater from iris to slit. You stopped explaining it 6 months ago. Your jacket is covered in handwritten notes, pressure tables on the left sleeve, faction radio codes on the right, box 6 written across the back pocket flap in permanent marker, because you kept forgetting to say it out loud during drills. Box 6. Evacuate before confirmation, not after. Before. You didn't write that one from a textbook. You wrote it 90 minutes after you ordered 300 people out of the Harlan Street medical camp on nothing but a 3.1 millibar drop and 2 anomalous shadows on the clinic wall. The hospital collapsed into an erasure while your last runner was still 200 meters from the perimeter. You timed it. You always time it now. 90 minutes from your call to silence. 300 people standing in a field. The only working surgical unit in 4 counties, gone. The surgeon who'd repaired 11 femoral arteries in the past 2 months, alive, standing next to you, saying nothing. She's not here today. She's 140 kilometers east, running the Decatur outpost. She took a laminate card when she left. She didn't say thank you. You didn't need her to. You tap box 6 again. You look at the trainee with the taped boot. Early is wrong and alive, you say. Late is right and gone. You've said it 40 times in 11 locations. You'll say it again tomorrow. You hand the stack of laminate cards to the front row. They pass them back, hand to hand, down every crooked stadium seat. 30 cards, 30 hands. Below the overpass, the convoy waits. The pale green shimmer on the horizon flickers once more, then holds still, as if it too is listening. You cap your marker. You pick up the log. You call out, "Move in 20 minutes." Nobody argues. They just stand up. 5 years. The gymnasium smells like chalk dust and lamp oil. You sit at the head of a horseshoe of folding tables, 23 faction delegates on either side. Mismatched chairs scraping concrete every time someone shifts. Battery lanterns hang from both basketball hoops on orange extension cord. Hand-sewn banners, curtain fabric, tarp, canvas drop from the bleachers. Some carry yellow chevrons.
Others carry symbols you've never seen before, from stable zones that assembled without you, in the 2 years you spent walking east. You look older. You know because the delegate from the Peoria corridor told you, flatly, the moment she sat down. You didn't argue. In front of you, a folder 3 centimeters thick. Maps, pressure tables, siren placement grids. You've carried this folder, or one like it, every day for 2 years. Your thumbnail is worn smooth from flipping pages in the dark. At the front of the room, on a chalkboard the size of a garage door, someone has drawn the continent in white chalk. 67 dots. Lines connecting them. Spacing, 8 kilometers between each station, coast to interior, following the confirmed stable corridors. The 67 siren network. Your network. Except it stopped being yours somewhere around Station 31, when 3 factions you'd never trained began extending it north without asking. That's when you knew it was working. You stand. The room goes quiet in under 4 seconds. You don't note that as a milestone. You just begin. 67 stations, you say, hand cranked. 2 operators minimum per site. Audible range 4 kilometers in clear air, 2.5 in wind. Gap coverage by overlap. You tap the chalkboard. Every delegate in this room is responsible for 8 kilometers of that line. Not your neighbor's 8. Yours. A man near the left end of the horseshoe, heavy coat, sewn-on patch showing a blue circle, asks who arbitrates when a siren fires and the neighboring faction disputes the call. You tell him the shimmer protocol does. He says his zone doesn't use the protocol. You say it does now, or his zone doesn't sit inside the network. Not a threat, a fact. You've had this conversation in 9 different rooms. You know how it ends. He writes something down, not a protest. Notes. Through the clerestory windows above the bleachers, the sky carries its permanent iridescent shimmer, faint, like oil on water, like the air forgot to go back to what it was. It's been that way for 14 months. You stopped looking at it as a warning sign around month 3. Now it just means outside. The vote on Unified Warning Protocol takes 40 minutes. 21 in favor, 2 abstentions, no votes against. You write the number in the log, 21/2/0. First binding agreement in the corridor network's existence. You don't feel what you thought you'd feel. You feel the edge of a headache behind your left eye, the clouded one, and you think about the 4 hours of sleep you'll get tonight if the pressure readings stay stable, which they won't, they never do. And you think about Station 31 and Station 44, and the surgeon 140 kilometers east, and the 300 people in the field, and Box 6, and the laminate carts passing hand to hand down crooked stadium seats. You think, this is what it looks like when something survives. A delegate near the right end passes a new sheet of paper up the table. Proposed resource sharing clause. Draft language, pencil, 3 crossouts. You read it once. You change 2 words. You pass it back. Outside, through the gymnasium's propped open double doors, a market runs along the parking lot. Stalls built from salvaged lumber and corrugated tin. A man pulls a 2-wheeled cart loaded with sealed water jugs. A girl carries a chalkboard sign with numbers on it, prices, in units you recognize from the Eastern Corridor trade agreements. Not improvised. Built. Intentionally, imperfectly, irreversibly built. You have not slept more than 4 consecutive hours in 2 years. You know this the way you know barometric thresholds, as a number, not a feeling. You open to the next page in the folder. The Congress has 14 items on the agenda. You've covered 1. You call for the second. 10 years. The sun is low and gold. It cuts across the obsidian plane at a flat angle, and the names carved into the black surface catch the light. Hundreds of them, small and uneven, scratched by hand over years. Some names have dates. Some have only a symbol, a circle with a line through it. The mark the Eastern Corridor settlements use for people who were never found.
The plain stretches for 3 hectares, mirror flat, perfectly still.
Nothing grows on it. Nothing ever will. You stand at the concrete plinth. It comes to your hip. 1400 millimeters tall, rough cast, a single line of text pressed into the face before it cured. You learned to read the world before it disappeared. You lift the frame with both hands. Steel, welded at 3 millimeters, corners mitered clean. Inside it, behind glass, the original map. 40 kilometers, hand-drawn, pencil on grid paper, the ink faded to brown at the edges. 120 centimeters wide, 80 tall. You set it flat on the plinth. You center it by eye. You don't need a level anymore. You can read flat surfaces the way you once read lease agreements, automatically, without effort, without caring. Behind you, maybe 30 meters back, a group of children watches. Low stone and timber buildings rise behind them, yellow chevrons painted above every door. Solar panels cover the roof lines.
Raised garden beds run in long rows between the buildings, staked with bamboo, heavy with late-season growth. One child, maybe 9 years old, sits on a low wall with a notebook open and a pencil moving. She's sketching the plinth. She's sketching you. She has never seen a microwave display read 88 to 88. She doesn't know what an apartment listing is. The world she was born into has yellow chevrons and laminate cards, and a 67 siren network, and the sky that shimmers faint on the horizon, present but quiet. The scar the world decided to keep. You look at your hands on the frame, calloused at the thumb, a burn scar on the right palm from a field antenna in year 3. Left eye gray-green, permanently. You don't think about that last part much. You think about 11:47 p.m., leftover pasta, a phone, apartment listings, a bigger kitchen. You can remember that person the way you remember a word in a language you no longer speak. The shape of it, not the meaning. The map on the plinth is proof that person existed, that they drew something real in the dark before they knew what real meant. You step back. The golden light falls across the names in the obsidian. The child keeps sketching. You let her. #Coda. She sits at the kitchen table, pencil poised above algebra homework, while her mother stirs something on the stove that smells like garlic and tomorrow. Outside the window behind them, the suburban street is perfectly ordinary. Mailboxes, parked cars, the neighbor's porch light. Neither notices the reflection in the glass shows a room that no longer exists. A kitchen rendered in soft focus, dissolving at its edges. At 11:47 p.m., her mother will reach for the microwave to reheat coffee. The display will flicker to 88:88. Every light in the building will die at once. The cycle begins again.